Okay, now we're live in both places. Hello, teachers. How's everyone doing? Hope you're doing fine today. It's the middle of the holiday for some teachers, not for others. How's it going? How's everyone doing? Let me know. Let me know. Are you chilling? Is it a holiday for you? Are you gonna rest? Take it easy? Are you working? We're live in both channels here, both here on Instagram and on YouTube as well. How was the weekend? Hello, Gustavo. Hi, Fernanda. Hello, Sara. Let me know if you're here. Simone. Hello, Simone. Hello, André. Aline. Wow, many people. That's great. I really thought you were all going to be all resting. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this live alone. They're going to abandon me. They're not going to join me. I really thought you were just like, just chilling, not doing anything else. Not so much, right, guys? You are totally here on top of the situation. Hi, hello, Tali. Tali, hello, Mel. Great. At the beach waiting for the sun to appear. Depending on the beach you are. If you're in Paraná, oh my goodness, sometimes it's just the ocean that we have. Great to see you here, guys. Great to see you here. Let me write here the topic for you to see. All right. Asi, hello, Daniela. You'll never be alone. Thanks, Sarah. Great, great. And let me take the topic today is not doing lives, it's not engagement and nothing like that. But if you ever think about doing or not doing going live on any of your channels, if you think about, oh, am I going to post this? Nobody's going to see it. Or, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to do this thing here because nobody's going to be there. There will be no audience. Remember why you're doing what you're doing, right? And it's something that I love to tell teachers in the courses, that I started doing lives 2018, and there were many days that not many people would show up. Like I would have 5 people watching, 3, 8, but I knew what I was doing. I knew exactly why I was doing these things, what I was building, and who I wanted to be. And I would do it no matter what, regardless of, the audience I had, and the consistency, the discipline, and the fact that I was there all the time, the fact that I showed up, the fact that I showed my audience that they could count on me, was one of the things that started making the difference. When I started my own business, when I started being a teacher, when I started sharing things about how people could unlock their English, that I used to do lives every week, and I didn't care. I really didn't care if there were 20, 30 people watching or if there were 4, right? Phase here. So just a reminder, all right, for if you think about, oh, but no one's watching, oh, but no one's there. We don't do it, in the beginning. We don't do it for the audience. We know exactly why we're doing these things, right? So since I talk to teachers who are starting their classes, their courses, their businesses, it's important to mention something like this. And yes, I've been there. I've been there exactly where many teachers are nowadays. And today's topic is exactly about being there, about something I used to do with my classes. Nowadays, I don't teach regular students anymore. My students are teachers, right? My audience is teachers. So, not just for teaching the way to teach, preparing teachers to be teachers, or to help teachers build their own businesses. I also teach English to English teachers. Okay. So, I'm going to talk about this experience, this thing I would add to all of my classes that I noticed made all the difference in my students' commitment, engagement, motivation, and inspiration to use English in their lives. Okay, Mel saying I'll be there for you. By the way, Mel, I went yesterday to a store to find something here for my new shelf, right? And can you believe there aren't many things from Friends, and the ones they have are too obvious. You know, I wanted something subtle that just Friends lovers would know. You know, fica a dica, hashtag fica a dica for the decoration stores, you know. So I'm going to try to find something online because I really want here to be something that shows the things I like. Not related to the topic. Actually, it is related to the topic. It has everything to do with the topic. Thanks for the comment, Mel. It is totally related to the topic. So, what I want to share with you today is something that I always did with my English classes, either in the school or my private classes, and something that I noticed changed the way my students saw English, the way my students, the relationship my students had with the language. And I think that goes to a much deeper level than just being motivated or just thinking English is cool, but really seeing that English can be something that changes our lives. English has to be, actually, right? Something that is part of our real life. And every time I post here about not using course books, not using textbooks, or not depending on them, right? Of course, there are many good ones. Of course, we can use them whenever we want to. But the problem is if we just include these things in our classes, then your class is just half a class. Pronto, falei. Okay, that's it. There, I said it, right? If you can only teach an English class, if you have a textbook, if you have a course book, you're only teaching English. Wait, Camila, but people hire me to be their English teacher, and aren't I doing like, aren't I doing just, what they paid me to do? Yes, you're a mediocre teacher, you know, and get the word, like mediocre, as not like, oh, you're horrible. It's just like the average, mediocre, média, right? Please don't get it as an offensive word, but get it for the meaning it has. Oh, they paid me to teach English, I'm teaching English. Acabou, tô fazendo a minha parte. That's the kind of thought that doesn't take you anywhere, that doesn't take your students anywhere, that doesn't help you grow your business, that doesn't help you really create a course and classes that will make a difference and really say, look, if you study English with me, your experience is going to be different. You're going to start seeing English from a whole new perspective, from a whole new point of view, right? And if you still don't think of your classes and your career as an English teacher, your relevance as an English teacher this way, time to make that change, right? Today, this very day, I don't know if you're going to be watching this video today or some other day in the future. If you haven't been thinking of your career this way, hi Fatima, hello Liz, you are going to have to make some changes. Otherwise, you just be another English teacher, right? You just be another teacherzinho, professorzinho, sofredorzinho, pobrezinho, injustiçadinho, and all of these words, que fazem renda extra, que, eu tenho um cursinho, eu dou umas aulinhas, and I'm pretty sure that if you're following me here, if you chose to be in this profile here, or here, you don't want to have that kind of mindset anymore. You don't want to be that person anymore. Right? And it's okay for you to have been there. We have all been there, right? But after we learn certain things, we don't have the right, to keep doing things the way we used to. Actually, we do, unless you don't want to make any changes in your life, unless you're just like, you know what? Tô na bosta, quero continuar na bosta. You know what? My classes are horrible and I want to keep my classes being horrible. You know what? My students, they come to class and in the end, they never learn how to speak, and that's all right. Right? So this is the kind of people, this is the kind of teacher that I'm talking to, the teachers that want to make a difference, that want to stand out, that don't want to be those that just follow things the way they have always been. Right? So having said that being said, let's talk about something that I've always done in my classes, but only later did I realize that that was one of the main reasons my students loved my classes. And I'm not saying like, oh, my students love my classes and so, support. No, it's just, adding these things, when you, theory comes from practice, right? And not the other way around. When you started rethink, when I started working as a teacher mentor and a teacher trainer, I started to see in more detail what worked and what didn't work in my classes. Why do I always have good results with these students? Why do I always have this kind of feedback from these students? What am I doing that makes students always like my classes and hardly ever miss them, or miss them only when it's absolutely necessary? What is something that I do that makes my students do their homework, include English in their lives, like really, really start using the language the way it should be, not just doing grammar activities from the book, right? And I opened earlier, I opened the question box here in the stories, and I'm sorry I didn't check the answers before this live here, but I will later. Asking, how do you use English in your real life? What do you love to do in English? And I'm talking to you, English teacher, right? Not what you like to do to your students, but what do you like to do in English? How do you include English in your life? As you can see, many of the books I have here, right? You see books about the Beatles, about U2, there are so many things about Steve Jobs and Martin Luther King. There are so many things about music, right? The biography, like Paul McCartney after the 70s, and Patty Boyd, who was George Harrison and what's his name? Eric Clapton's wife, right? Her biography. There are so many things here about music, right? There are things about yoga too. And you cannot see, I think if you're watching on YouTube, you can see, let me show you here. Here, more books, right? And if you're watching here, you see all of them. And the thing is, I've always been a person who's interested in knowing about people's stories. I love biographies. I love knowing more about people's lives. I'm not a person who likes reading novels so much. I do read them, but they're not my favorite. But when you show me a biography, a real person, a real story, that's going to talk about somebody's life, career, challenges, I'm like, wow, awesome, right? Now, after I was bringing these books here, then I realized that before I learned never to lend my books to anyone. Yes, if you want to get, oh, this book is so cool, can you lend it? No, buy yours. Keep it for yourself. And as you can see, my books are full of notes, so they're mine, and I go back to them. Before I learned to never lend my books because they don't come back to me, I remember that, oh, I used to have Madonna's biographies, John Lennon's biography, and Anthony Kiedis from Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Eric Clapton. Where's my Eric Clapton biography? And then I remember that I lent them to someone. Can't remember the person. That's the good thing about not being not being good. Like I don't remember these things so much. My memory fails when it comes to, okay, why did I, like, no, don't remember. But then I started to think, like, I had these books, where are they? They disappeared, right? If you have my book, send it back. All right, but it's something I love to do. I love reading biographies. Books are broken boomerangs. That's it, Valdemir. That's it. Right now, I don't anymore. Do you read your books in English? I do. I read in English and in Portuguese. It doesn't matter, right? Of course, because I'm an English teacher, I always try to get books in English. Sometimes the price is so different, and I'm like, yeah, let me see. I get many books as presents. I remember a birthday, like 5 or 6 years ago. I got 11 or 13 books as presents because people know I love books, so they give me books, right? This one here, by the way, this one, Man on the Run, Paul McCartney after the 70s, Lily gave me as a birthday present because she knows I like the Beatles. So I really like biographies, and especially biographies of musicians, artists. That is something that I naturally do. That's something I do in English a lot. I love knowing more about their stories, the stories behind the lyrics. There are many here. Where is it? Oh, here, this one, the 100 Best Beatles Songs, right? And there's the one from YouTube, the stories behind the songs. So I love to know why they created the lyrics and what those lyrics are about, and is it what it really means, what I think it means. I like to dig, right? And even when I took my graduation course about the feminism in music, right? There's even a book here called Angry Women in Rock. I chose to study that. I chose to see the world of rock and roll and how women started to be part of the rock and roll scene, right? So I studied many bands and many singers, and I got to know there's well, one day I'm gonna make a post or a reel showing my books here because I really think anyone who likes these things would be interested about Kim Gordon, about Patti Smith. I learned a lot, and like doing my final paper, writing my final paper for my postgrad was so much fun because I was doing what I love the most. So I am truly interested in doing that. That is something that I do in English and in Portuguese too, but I do it in English. I study many things about the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. I just remembered I have Mick Jagger's biography as well. And where is it? Oh my God. So I like doing that. That's who I am. Whoever knows me knows that I love music, right? Knows that I'm a very musical person, even though I don't sing, I don't play any instruments. I used to when I was a kid, I used to play the piano, but I stopped. So I like it. And I would bring that to my classes. Let me know here in the comments because I see so many people talking about they like these things too. You recommend this kind of book for your students? Would you like that? Yes, Liz, that's exactly where I want to get. Okay. Loving documentaries. Yeah. So not just the books. And the other day I posted a documentary about Axé music in Brazil. And well, so many things. But reading books and finding blogs and websites and seeing documentaries and things is about musicians, right? Is something that I do naturally. It's part of my life as a teacher and as a person, right? Actually, as a person, and then I bring that to my teacher life. Okay. So, because that's so natural to me, and I will always have interesting things to share about it, then I always included these things in my classes. I always included activities with lyrics. I always included paragraphs and text and videos and things about musicians, about bands, right? I have here the story from Tom Jobim and even guys, my ex husband. When we separated, the big thing we had was to separate our books and DVDs and things because we used to buy these things together. And then, how do you do it when you separate? It's like, okay, this is mine, this is yours. It was a big fight. So knowing these things was something that, but because I know these things a lot, I would create classes talking about these things, right? When you work with your own students, when you work with your private students, you should attract people who are more or less like you. Maybe they're not going to like the same bands and things, but they like music, right? They should be interested, or at least be people who are open to knowing more about music. So I don't know much about the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, but I know the bands and I would like to know more. Let's imagine the students doing that. Then you prepare a class. Then you plan a class with many curiosities about both bands. And this is how you're going to teach comparatives. So instead of creating a class, comparing the basic things that books always bring, compare the cities, compare this one is tall, this one is short, this one is and that doesn't relate to anything. That doesn't connect to any emotion students have, and especially any emotions that you have. Your classes can be just English, or your classes can be super awesome because they're going to bring things that your students are going to take outside of class and talk to their friends about. They're like, you know what I learned about the Rolling Stones? You know what I learned about the Beatles? You know, when they go out with friends, when they have dinner with their families, when they do something with other people, they will have things to say. Even when they are at work and they're talking to somebody, you know, when you have to do this, like, just, conversation with somebody else from another country, from another company, that you're not going to talk about work. You go out for lunch, right? And what are you going to talk about? The weather, and like, oh, did you see that the drummer from the Rolling Stones died last week? Oh, yeah, yeah. So if you know something else about the Rolling Stones, how do you think you're going to be seen by that other person you're talking? It's not just like, pois é, Charlie Watts morreu, and you don't even know his name was Charlie Watts. So how do you think your students are going to be seen? And now think of that in English, because they're studying English with you for a reason. Nobody's studying English because of English. English is a means to an end. Write it down, have it clear, put a post-it on your forehead. Nobody studies English because of English. Your students study English for an objective. They have a goal, they have a mean, they have an end to that. English is just what is going to take them there. So especially if you work with adults, you have to make English be something that adds to their lives. So if they learn how to compare things, and all they can compare things that are totally unrelated, totally out of their world, right? It's just like, okay, I never talk about it. I never compare these things. I never say that. But I do like music. And when I talk to people, I need something interesting to say. So if I learn with my English teacher something specific about the Beatles, or I remember a class, and I have to find this class because it was prepared a long time ago, that I talked about all the things that the Beatles did first. Because there's this big debate saying, oh, the Beatles are not that big a deal. It's just marketing. They were just there for 10 years, and there are many better bands, and then, okay, let's use this polemic thing to create a class that is engaging. And I always, of course, you overplay it, right? Saying, look, I'm going to prove to you why the Beatles are the best band in the world. I'm going to prove to you why you have to respect the Beatles, even though you don't like them so much. Because many people would say, the Beatles is just like help and please, please me and love me do. And they only know that phase of the Beatles, the beginning. That is pretty simple. They don't know that part in which they were real musicians, and they brought so much to pop music. And then I loved to bring that to my students to say, look, this thing that you have today, you know who did it first? You know this thing that you think is so cool today? You know who did it first? You know who had the first idea? You know who introduced that to the world? The Beatles, right? So I had this whole class about the Beatles firsts. And then my students were like, right, about it. And they were using English. And then it's simple stuff. And it's talking about a band that everybody knows, a band that everybody knows something about it, and then later after that class, they're going to know a lot more about it. So I'm using this as an example because this is what I bring to my classes, right? And same thing with yoga things, or positive intelligence, or your mindset, or focusing, or emotional intelligence, or all of these things that I was always interested in. Right. And only now did I understand. And now, the last 3 years, did I understand that they were the things that made the real difference for my students, and not the way I taught the present perfect and the simple past, or the way I taught the conditionals, or the way I used, like, no, that's not it. Yes, of course, the class is much more interesting when you're bringing up that thing that you want your students to use, right? But when you bring what's interesting for you, something that really, like, you know a lot about. I know a lot about these things. I know a lot about how the brain works. I know a lot about how emotions play an important, a crucial part, an essential part in students' development, in learning, in the way they improve their skills in English. I've always studied that since I was 17, not just now, but now I can see why I was the kind of teacher I was, why my students had the results they had, why suddenly English was not a burden anymore, why suddenly students were suddenly, right? They were genuinely interested in the language, and the language made part of their lives. And it was not because, oh, the way you show the parts of the class or the page of the book or the book you use, that was not it. It was bringing things that I am passionate about, connecting these things to what my students like, connecting these topics to what my students like, to what's relevant for them, making it interesting and relevant for them, because it's things they're going to finish class and be able to use right away, and things that will not only be part of the class and then they close the book and okay, go home and it's another world. It's like, you know what, I'm going to go home listening to the Beatles. And that would be their homework assignment. You're going to choose a Beatles song, you're going to listen to this song, and you're going to see the lyrics, and you're going to. So, music is something. I know there are personal difference. There are differences in taste, right? Musical, we like this thing, we don't like that thing, but you're hardly ever going to find a person who doesn't like music. Okay, what kind of music do you like? And there were many classes in which my students would bring the artists they like, I never knew much about Beyonce, for example, but I had a student who was in love with her. So she would bring things and we would, she would have the chance to talk about it. I'm like, you know what? And I even included Beyonce in this final paper that I had for my post grad, right? So we learned together. We learned together. 5 6 years ago, no, even more, because I took this postgrad was 2015 16, so 2014 13, I didn't know much and I wasn't very interested. Like, okay, Beyonce, cool, I know, respect her, she's a good artist, but I never knew much about her. And the moment you start to learn more about what a person does and how the person does it and how the person is relevant and the person's, you're like, that is something that matters to my student and that matters to me, because we both like music. So let's work with English. Let's bring the topics and the vocabulary and the structures that we want to study in these topics that are interesting, instead of just compare these two things that have nothing to do with you, right? So think of the things that you like. And I'm going to talk to you about just one thing that you really have to keep in your mind so that you don't overdo it. Okay. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. Something else I was always interested in is healthy eating, healthy habits. Right. So I always watch documentaries about like the Fed Up or Super Size Me, all of these, about food. I can't remember the names now. All of these documentaries about the way food is produced and what we should eat, what we shouldn't, and Earthlings. It's kind of deep, right? And what's the name? Earthlings at the Terráqueos, right? The ones that talk about the way meat is produced. So not bringing that in a preaching way, but just like, look, you know about this thing here. Let's think about it this way. What do you think? What's your perspective about it? And not in the way that, oh, I want to change my students' minds. No, like, if I want to make them know about it and I want them to show me what they know about it. It's a topic I like. It's something that I've always been interested in. So I naturally bring it with a different, shine. So when you prepare a class, and tell me here if it makes sense to you, when you prepare a class about something that you like, something that you know a lot about, so let's talk about music. I'm probably going to know a lot about music and musicians and bands and things. And if I don't, I'll love to hear more about it. So I'll naturally be more enthusiastic. I'll naturally be more interesting for my students. I'll naturally listen to what they have to say. And if I don't know the things that they ask, I'm going to be even more interested in learning more about it, so as to add more to my classes. And my students are going to be excited. They're going to be motivated because of my passion. And it's not like, okay, your students hate these things and it's nothing to do with their lives and you're going to force that topic. No, that's not the thing, right? But you're going to, as you know your students well, as you attract people who are more or less like you, who like more or less the same things, you're going to start creating classes that matter. And not just English classes, but classes that matter to you, that show who you are and the things you know, and your students are inspired because they're like, wow, my teacher knows so much about music. I love that. And then they're going to start sending things to you and post to you and giving you presents. Right? There are many times that I got things as presents, or sending messages. Oh, I was here. I went to this concert and I thought of you. I only went to that concert because you introduced me to that artist. They didn't even know that singer, but after that class, and you talk not just about the lyrics, but about the artist and what the artist is about and the instruments they play and why, they're like, okay, now I'm going to go to that concert. And I started to like that person because of you. This is how we change the game. And it's not just teaching English, it's teaching the way, the tool they need to enjoy all of these things. And don't get music as the only thing you can do. I'm just saying that because it's something that's relevant for me. All right. Daniela's saying there's a series on Netflix that's called History Level 1. I found it useful. So you see, if you love history or aliens or whatever you do, I saw somebody, Anna, saying here about cooking and recipes. If you like it, and if you post about it and your students are interested, why not creating a class about these things? Because this is what's important for you and for your students. This is where you are going to shine, right? Let me see some of the comments here. Teaching or talking about things we like takes us to another level, and so it does for our students. Most of my students are biologists like me. There's so many biologists that become English teachers, right, Tatiana? So when I bring a text or new documentary with this topic, they get thrilled. There you go. You see? I found out that a student of mine started reading the Harry Potter book because of something I said in class. Wow. If you're a Harry Potter fan, oh my God. Right? Uh, right, Anna? The Love the Rotten in Netflix. So you see, guys, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's something you love. Like Jonathan loves cars and motorcycles. So his students are probably going to be guys that like these things. So why not creating classes about these things? Mel loves reading books and she loves female authors. So why not bringing these things up to class? I know she does, right? So what is this thing that you're passionate about? What is this thing that you really use your English naturally to learn more, or to, I like reading biographies. I love reading more about music. Any documentary you tell me about music, like watching Bohemian Rhapsody, for example. It's not a documentary, it's a movie about Freddie Mercury, right? And then, okay, you start to do that, and I never watch a movie and then just watch the movie, and then it's like Queen, 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 and then get all the CDs and everything, right? And then watching the movie about Cazuza, the movie about Renato Russo, or the movie about The Doors. By the way, where's my book, right? And learning more about these guys and saying, okay, guys, what do you think? What do you think of the movie? Did you watch it? And watching the movie can become part of the homework. Louise is asking, do you recommend this kind of book? It can be, depending on the level of students you have. Watching a documentary could be something that you're going to say, look, from today to next class, which is next week, you have classes once a week, I want you to watch this thing. So this documentary is 2 hours long. You're going to watch 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. You're going to watch the first 10 minutes. You're going to watch just that episode or whatever. That can be something much more interesting than, okay, fill in the gaps with is, are, am, right? They are going to see these things. they are going to naturally be interested. And you don't have to be fighting for them to like English, because they're going to see that on our side, right? When you know English, you have access to many more, sources of information. You can access many different websites, many more different websites and books. I just learned something, guys. It was Father's Day, and I was trying to find a present for my dad, and he really likes carpentry. And I'm like, okay, let me find a book about carpentry, about woods, right? Different kinds of woods. And my dad knows English basic level, to be very nice, okay? So I said, okay, I'm going to find him a book. And you know what? There aren't many books in Portuguese about it. And it was even in a video in which a guy that was a specialist was saying, look, if you don't know English, you're not going to find many books. In Portuguese, we just have this and this one. And there were hundreds of books in English. So if you have a student who likes that, and you say, look, if you learn English, you're going to be able to read all of these books and see all of these channels, all of these things about carpentry. How do you think English is going to be inside that student's mind? A burden or something super interesting? If you have a student who plays a musical instrument, who sings, who cooks, right? That is the level we have to get. And that's how we have to change our minds as English teachers, and stop teaching just the language and teaching things that make a difference in our students' lives, right? Students love curiosity. Oh, yes, they do. They do. It's so funny because I also speak with some students about their professional life, and they use technical words in their areas. Teachers should be naturally curious, right? So when I'm talking about carpentry here, I could totally learn about it and prepare a class, but I would never know as much as my student. But I would try and elicit things from my students and ask him to share things with me, him or her, right? Time just flows when we reverberate our best into whatever we're into, right? Exactly, Alex. And these are the classes in which your students are going to say, mas já acabou a aula? Nossa, como o tempo passou rápido, right? Famous photographers, oh yes, different styles in art, movement, describing pictures. English is the ultimate mind opener, soul connector. And Alex, something I always like to share with my students is that 55% of everything that's online on the internet is in English. And you have probably seen that, guys, that when you're doing some research, you find a lot more in English than you find in Portuguese. You find much more detail. You find, for everything, you have many more options in English than you have in Portuguese. And usually, unfortunately, most of what's in Portuguese is like translations or poor translations of what is originally in English. So, right? I have some kids, students that really like video games, right? So I teach them vocabulary and songs. They love it. So Elida, that's it. If you have students that like video games, and you do too, why aren't you preparing 1 minute class about all the video games there are, and have them play with you and together and learn English? There were so many students I've had that learn English through playing video games, right? Why not? Why Americans don't speak in other languages? They do. They're just like us. If you think about Brazilians, we don't speak another language too, because just 1% of the population speaks English. And Spanish, I would say it's the same. So all Americans don't do it. Brazilians don't as well. So, right? Let's break these beliefs that people have. Oh, but they don't do it. Yeah, Brazilians don't either. You can let a light inside your students' interests. The secret is to be curious about our students' lifestyle and know how to make the right questions. A while back, I had a really good class about the last czars. Oh my God, you see? So what I'm saying here, guys, is that we have to share the things that we love with our students, because this is where we're going to bring, that thing, that special taste about English. And our students like to see that because they like to know us, right? And it is, when you're a teacher, one of the best things about being a teacher is that you have a relationship with your students. Some of my students, and I'm pretty sure that your students are like that too, become your friends, right? Some of the students, they have class with you, but after that, you're like, you know what? I like you so much. Let's continue this relationship, right? So they can be your friends, and getting to know people. I remember that like every time I started a class, a semester, and each semester would have up to 80 or 90 students in the school. I'm like, okay, 80 or 90 people, that can be super cool to know and learn about their lives and how they see things, and the curiosities and what they know. So this exchange is one of the richest things we have, and we have the privilege to do that because our jobs require us to exchange these things, right? So it's not just what students tell us, but sharing what we like to, right? Many students won't know about these things that you do, and maybe they're going to start liking that. They're going to start enjoying learning more about musicians, or like how the mind works, or how they can be more productive, and how, I don't know, they can about more about dogs because they like dogs too, and exchanging recipes and bringing, like, oh, this is, what I did last week, and I cooked this, and you could try. And the homework assignments is to change one ingredient and see what happens. This is using English for real life instead of just teaching the language. And that's my big thing, that when I say that English teachers should not depend on course books exclusively. We can use books as a guide. We can use the book as, okay, I'm going to kind of follow this thing here, but gradually you're going to see that it's unnecessary. It's not something that, okay, I have to have it. No, you don't. You can as a choice, but you have to be the one bringing and showing how that book's going to be used. All right. So if you have to make a choice, if you could not have this, like balance there, I would say forget about them. Even though I did use them, I have grammar books, but they're reference. They're reference. Nothing will ever be as good as what your students like, and what you like, and what you prepare from your heart, from your real interest. No class from any book's ever going to be as good as this class I prepared comparing the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, or just talking about the Beatles firsts. The things that they did first that people didn't know. And it's like, you know what? I'm talking about this thing I like, and many people will start doing that. That's it. That's it. So after years, I've been an English teacher for now 24 to 25 years, right? I've studied that my whole life. I've had thousands of students, good and bad experiences. I learned a lot in this life. Not all of my classes were amazing, but I started to see some things that always worked. Like, I always hear that from my students. That's the feedback I always get. That's the response I always get. This is what parents say. This is what students say. This is why they recommend me to other people. This is how they leave a semester with me or a course with me. What am I doing that's working? And this is something that was always there. That was always there. Right? Teachers that would always, you can't hear me? Eesh. Let me see. Let me see if it's back, because the phone was ringing. Yeah, let me see just if it's back. Because it was, for some reason, it was ringing. Is it back? Yeah, I know. I know. So I think it's just I know. I don't think it came back, right? Let me see. Back now or no? Is it back or no? No, no, no. Okay, just tell me if it's back, okay? I already know it's no sound. I got it. I think I'm gonna stop and, well, I was about to finish anyway. Back or no? No, no, no. Choo-choo-choo. No? Okay. So let me, all right. Just a second, okay? Eita, nós. See, it's better to watch here. Here it never fails. Okay, I was about to finish and to finish the live anyway, but let me just conclude my thought here to finish, everything I was going to say. I hope the sound is back now. Somebody try to call in the middle of the thing. I really have to block my phone for that. So teachers, these ideas that I shared here, by the way, guys, I couldn't save it here, okay, for Instagram, but I'm saving here on YouTube. So if you want to watch it later, you can watch it here. Oops, you can watch it here on YouTube. Okay, cool. Thanks, Faye. Thanks, Dani. These ideas, bringing these things to class instead of teaching just the language, are the things that made the whole difference to my students' experience with the language. And when we talk about people learning the language, people seeing English a different way, and if you have been an English teacher, if you have had students, you know that many will say, oh, I don't like English. English is too hard. I can't stand it, but I have to. It always comes with a negative feeling or negative feelings. And our job as English teachers is to change that, because it's the only way our students are going to have as much fun with English as we do. Why are we English teachers? Why did we choose to do it? Because we have fun with the language. Because English makes us feel good. English is a part of our lives that is the successful part of our lives. It's like, okay, English positive, English good, English, abundance, English positivity. We as English teachers have English in that right side of our brains and hearts. When our students come to us, they mostly don't have it. They have English in the negative side of the brain in their hearts. So it's like, English is boring, English is tough. I'm tired of doing this. It's not interesting. It doesn't make sense to me. I need it. If I don't have it, I'll lose things. So it's our job to change it to the right side. And the best way for us to do it is to start connecting English to the emotions our students have, to good memories, to every class that we teach, so that every class that we teach becomes something positive, something that our students will finish and say, cara, essa aula é muito mais que uma aula. Parece uma terapia, parece um documentário, parece, whatever they say, that is just, wow. It's the best part of my day. It's the part of my day in which da 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 da. All right. So keep that in mind. Keep that secret in your mind and start applying that in your classes. The next class you teach, I don't know when your next class is going to be, but the next class you teach, be sure to include something. Prepare even like a short activity about something that you truly love. Start from yourself, and your students are going to they're going to understand where you want to get. Think of something that you love doing, that you do it in English, and prepare a little activity about it, and then share that with me. Share the results you have with me. I'd love to hear from you, to hear about how it was. All right? Teachers, thank you so much for being here. This week we're going to have lives every day. Yay! Back to lives every day. So I'll see you tomorrow at noon and Wednesday. It's a holiday, but we're going to be here together. All right? We're going to have lives every day now, weekdays, weekends, all days. And next week on Monday, we start our Get Real, the Pro Teacher Training Week. The link is in the bio. If you're watching here, go to Instagram to find it. Here, click here. You can register for free. All right. It's a teacher training course in which I'm going to talk to you about things similar to this one that I shared today, but much deeper, about what your classes have to have and the mistakes you cannot make so that your students have the best experience ever. They have the best teacher ever. They have a pro teacher teaching their classes. And then you become a teacher who makes a difference, who prepare classes that are relevant in less time, in classes that bring real results to your students. So all you have to do is click the link in the bio, send it to other teachers you know, to other English teachers you know, or teachers of other languages, but if they understand English, it's fine. Be there, and all you have to do is to commit to be there. All right? The classes are going to be at 8 p.m. here on YouTube. And all of you guys are invited, and I would love to see all of you there. All right? Take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, teachers.